Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It's Alexander Hilly123 here, and it's time for a new video. And as you can see from the title, today it's time for my Nicholas Rodney Drake. On Nick Drake, to us mere mortals, his albums ranked worst to best. Just 3 of them to rate and rank today. The fact of the matter is, there is no worst Nick Drake album. Well, there kind of is. There's got to be, thus I'm doing this video, but they're all absolutely fantastic. And one of my favourite artists of all time. I'm going to tell you guys how I got into the man's music in just a moment, and just tell you guys, if you're interested in seeing other albums ranked worst to best, please check my channel out, please check my playlists out, and you'll see other artists there. No one really similar to Nick Drake that I've done so far, other than Mr. Stephen Paul Smith, that main man as well of melancholy and sadness, Mr. Elliott Smith. I've already done his ranking a few years ago. Absolute legend, up there neck and neck with Drake for me, maybe even a little bit better due to his ability to convey anger in melancholic songs. Just astonishing, but hey, we're talking about 2 geniuses here in my opinion. But yeah, mainly rock and metal bands and some just singer-songwriter bands, indie kind, like slow, like Red House Painters is what I'm thinking of. They've got something in common with Nick Drake in terms of like acoustic guitars and whatnot, but in terms of pure singer-songwriter, it's only Elliott Smith have ever done. There are a lot of artists out there with tons of albums, like Dylan or Cohen and whatnot, and I am, or Neil Young, and I am fans of those artists, but they've made tons of albums that I've never heard before as well. If you click the See More button below the video, ladies and gentlemen, it will give you the spoiler in regards to the order of worst to best that I've picked. I've done a little document which I'm going to be reading notes off here as well. And I'm going to try to do the impossible task of doing my 10 favourite Nick Drake songs. If you haven't tried it, you should try it if you're a big fan, because it's just ludicrous. It's so hard. I'm going to give it a go, and I'll put it in the drop-down box for you guys to listen to. There's going to be a timestamp for when I start talking about each individual album, and I've also got a few bits of Drake, kind of memorabilia, merch, if you will, to show off as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, when did I get into Nick's music? I can't exactly remember. When I do these, I do like to say when I got into each individual artist, and for whatever reason, I think I got into his music earlier than some of the artists that I just spoke of, Leonard Cohen, Neil Young, Bob Dylan. Heard these names when I was young, in my teens, but never listened to their music. That was probably into my early 20s, 2010, 11, 12, when I got into those artists. But with Drake, I think it was like 2000, it might have even been 2008, or 2009. I used to have a friend who I would download music for him, and he'd basically let me see if it got a virus on my computer. No viruses, no, I'll send it you then. He wasn't stupid. And I think I downloaded an album for him. I'm trying to think how I got my hands on it so early, because Spotify became a thing in like late 2008, early 2009. And I'm old enough to remember, and people my age and older will remember, what it was like in regards to, now all this music is readily available. And for a time, it was a good thing. And now it's kind of like, whoa, there's too much here. But before 2009, before Spotify came about, yeah, you had illegal torrents and LimeWire and legal downloads and other such methods to get your music. But it's different now, and it feels easy and more readily available. And it kind of has ruined the allure of finding great music, unfortunately. I'm guessing someone out there will feel the same way as myself. But yeah, I think it was like 2008, 2009. I would have been about 18, 19 years of age. And it didn't take me too long to just fall in love with the music. Within a couple of years, he was one of my favourite artists of all time, and it's still the benchmark, alongside Elliott Smith, who I got into in 2011, so after Drake. So Drake came first, and I can't really remember how that happened, but I'm very glad that it did. And if you've never listened to the man's music, well, just listen to my playlist and just listen to the 3 albums, because it's not a massive discography. If you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, Nick did pass away on November the 25th. 1974. Have a look at the day. Well, you might be watching this in the future, but I'm recording this on the 22nd. It's Friday, 22nd of November today, but I'll be uploading this specifically on Monday the 25th to commemorate, I'm not exactly going to say celebrate, obviously, but to commemorate 50 years since his passing. And yeah, it's one hell of an emotional one for me. You know, his music is hard hitting and just always just devastates me, but makes me happy as well, and that's the power of his music, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, it was an overdose of antidepressants. I remember people saying, "Oh, was it an accident or not?" And it's like, I'm pretty sure I saw that he took like 40, 50 pills. It's not an accident, I don't think. Very, very middle class upbringing, ladies and gentlemen. Very misunderstood man, and he just got more and more withdrawn. I don't think the use of marijuana helped, to be perfectly honest with you. And I do think perhaps there were other mental issues that were there within himself which worsened because of the drugs. And it was just quite a few different factors, and he got worse. And then, what happened. And I might even leave a link to the discography, because he was born in Burma as well, because his dad was an engineer. And he tried to do other things other than music, but nothing really worked for him. And there were stories. I thought about like leaving this till the end, but I think I'll show it now because I can like discuss more. But this is the latest. There's been quite a few like books written on him. This is a Richard Morton Jack book with a foreword by Gabrielle Drake, his sister. And yeah, this is quite a big, beefy book, but there were many occasions in this wonderful book. Just also got pictures too, ladies and gentlemen. All good bookstores and Amazon. Get it on your Kindle. You know what I mean? Plenty of ways to read it. Well worth reading though if you are a fan. I'm not a big reader myself, and I still bought it. It took me about a year to get round to reading it, but when I did, yeah, I was happy I read it, because I can read, but I just find it boring. But I respect this man's music so much that I had to do it. And so many accounts of him going to people's houses and then just sitting there on a chair staring at a wall. It's like, that isn't normal behaviour, to say the very least. I mean, what on God's green earth? But of course, back then, things were very different in regards to mental health and whatnot. So yeah, there we go. But ladies and gentlemen, there has to be a worst album, and I listened to these albums just yesterday. In fact, no, yesterday I listened to the second and the third album. My least favourite album I listened to first. That's what I do when I do these rankings. I listen to all the albums. I don't go chronologically from the start of an artist's career to the end. I just go from my least favourite to my favourite. So 2 days ago I did my least favourite, and then yesterday I just did my second favourite and my favourite. They're not long albums. And got my notes here. My least favourite album by Drake, and I think some people will be disappointed by this, but I'm going to try and justify myself. It's Bryter, Layter. The 5th of March 1971 this was released, recorded in 1970 on the Island label, like all of Nick Drake's albums are. Produced by Mr. Joe Boyd, and running in at 39 minutes in length exactly. This is Nick's second album, and this is still an absolutely sensational album. I listened to this thinking beforehand without listening to it for quite a while. I can't exactly remember the last time I listened to a Nick Drake album in full. His songs are always coming up on shuffle. Every so often a song comes on, or I just feel the need to, listen to one particular track. But it's the first time in quite a while that I've listened to the full albums, and I came out of this thinking, you know what? I never thought it was bad. I always thought it was very good. But it's better than I thought it was. It was better than I remembered. And the bugbears and the issues that I have with the album, I wouldn't say they diminished, but they weren't as prevalent as I thought they were initially. And it's an astonishing album. And if someone says, hey, that's my favourite, I'm just going to say, hey, I get it. I get it, kid. I really do, because it's absolutely astonishing. Now, this album, one of the things that people don't like about it is there's a lot of orchestral instrumentation here. There's a lot of other people behind the scenes, not just behind the scenes, but in the studio with Nick, I should say, providing more sound, a fuller sound than his first album, and indeed his third album. We've got string arrangements on 4 tracks here from Robert Kirby. Richard Thompson plays electric guitar on the second song. Alto saxophone. A flute is played on 2 tracks, a viola and a harpsichord. a Celeste, a piano, an organ, backing vocals from 2 female vocalists here as well. And as such, it does have a fuller sound. And a few of these tracks, especially back in the day, not so much 2 days ago when I listened to this album for the first time in full, probably in I'd say a few years, I was just left thinking, yeah, it's not as bad as I remember it being. There are a few times where Nick's kind of fighting with that instrumentation on this album, and a few tracks where it's like, if you took that away, the songs, I assure you, would still stand the test of time. They'd still be astonishing, and it wouldn't hurt the tracks. They just had a bit of extra flair, but there's a few where I don't think it's necessary. So my notes on the album here, we open up with an introduction. It's called Introduction, and it's an instrumental. There's quite a few of them, I think 3 on this album, I do believe. And I've put here, showcases more fuller instrumentation. These are just my notes. Like, I've just gone, blah, 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 blah. I've not reread them, nothing. Just put notes down in a document and bolded the song titles. A lovely intro track, perfect for this album. And then we've got Hazy Jane 2, and Hazy Jane 2 starts before Hazy Jane 1. No idea why, but all you need to know is this is quite an up-tempo, faster track. I always call it in my head Nick kind of going deathcore, you know, he's going death metal there. It is quite up-tempo. Still some lyrically introspective stuff. I'm reading my notes here. Some good bass playing here. It complements everything else, the instrumentation. And I love the lyrics too. When the world gets too crowded, or so crowded, you can't look out the window in the morning. How he sings that and how fast he sings that. I always find it quite comical. Not because it's bad, but it's just a crazy lyric to imagine. Nick in this room and there's that many people, he's getting pushed up against the wall. Maybe his fears there, but it always makes me smile. Then at the chime of a city clock, this slows the pace down, more reminiscent of his first album in terms of music here, I've said. First verse, there is no other real instrumentation, and then the strings come in the second verse. Here is the contentious saxophone, I've put in capital letters. And then I've put, I find it ... okay. But if it wasn't there, would I care so much? No, because the song is good as it is. More melancholic than Hazy Jane Part 2. Great track. And then, my favourite song on the album, the one I'm putting in the drop-down box. Some unbelievable guitar noodling and kind of finger picking from Nick here. One of these things first. Absolutely amazing song, great lyrics and music I put. The piano running through the song, and it certainly does. It never stops all through the song, and the guitar and bass mingling with each other. I adore how the title track is sung and elongated by Drake. I put Bean with lots of E's. I don't even know what I'm talking about there. Even the drums here are playing a great part. Quite a faster song considering it's quite melancholy. Quite simply a masterpiece, I put. And then Hazy Jane Part 1. For me, maybe the best song on the album due to the instrumentation and other strings. So basically what I'm saying there is Hazy Jane 1. Maybe it's the track which is elevated because of the strings. And without the strings and everything else going on, Hazy Jane 1 would suffer because of them not being there. I'm happy to say that. I think I'm correct in what I'm saying. Love the lyrics here, even though Drake is asking questions. He's struggling with the pace of life, I've put. Okay. Bryter, Layter, beautiful instrumental. The flute here is lovely, works well with the guitar and drums. Should be so simple, but it's still so good. Yeah, this man did simplicity really well. There's 1 or 2 tracks on his final album where it's just like, how is this so good for what he's doing here? He's just putting certain soundscapes to the track with just his guitar on his final album. There's 1 or 2 tracks where he does that, and it's just like, it's genius. It really is genius. And then one called Fly. I put, this is a beautiful song, but not one of my ultimate Drake faves. Apparently there is a harpsichord playing here. It gives it an almost fairy tale beauty to it. Damn, what am I talking about? I don't even know. And then, hot take. It doesn't matter how much you love an artist. We all have our least favourite songs from amazing musicians that we respect, great, so much. There is no Drake song on the 3 main LPs that he did that I dislike. I'd say I like everything, and I like this track. And I don't doubt that there's people out there that have it as their favourite, but it is my least favourite. I think it goes on a little too long, and it's been a long, long time since I heard it. 2 days ago when I listened to it, it's probably the track that's the furthest away in terms of when I listened to it. And it is Poor Boy. It is time for my Drake hot take I've put here. This is possibly my least listened to and most disliked song, but like I say, I don't dislike it. Not to say I actually dislike it. I think there are good things about this track. Nice female backing vocals here, nice piano running through the track. I forgot about the track. I actually did forget about this song. And it was really nice to come back to it. But it is very long, 1970, a 6-minute song, the beginnings of progressive rock were just there in 1969, 1970, but for this kind of music over 6 minutes, it's a long track. And then, the penultimate track on the album, Northern Sky. This track brings back the beauty and melancholy, utterly gorgeous musically, and I love the lyrics in this one. A lot of longing from Drake, if you would, and you could. So that's the lyric. There is an organ in this track too, which works well. Doesn't overpower the rest of the song at all. For sure, one of most people's Drake favourites. Lyrically, my fave on the album, specifically in regards to its lyrics. Absolutely beautiful. I never felt magic as crazy as this. What a line. And then Sunday, yet another instrumental track finishes the album. It could be considered a bad thing to have quite so many, but I don't think it is a bad thing. Fantastic balance of melancholy beauty, and just the right amount of Drake singing as well. And I've put verdict with a question mark. I do apologise to put this one last. This is an incredible album, no bad tracks, and if I'm being honest, the fuller sound and orchestral sound doesn't overwhelm the songs or get in the way as much as I thought it initially did. I feel a few songs would be fine just without them. My first time listening to the album in quite a while. Quite simply, this is only my least favourite of the 3 Drake albums due to how good the other 2 are. Yeah, and an iconic cover as well, ladies and gentlemen. I've not got a drink with me. Got dust in my throat, man. Keep having for cough. I keep feeling wheezy. Thing is, it doesn't happen until I start the webcam. One of my favourite streamers on Twitch always says this. Says, as soon as I start talking to people, and I'm streaming, my voice goes, and it's exactly like that for me when I do these videos. Before I hit the record button, it was absolutely fine. I can feel it going again. My apologies, guys. It might happen one or 2 times more before the end of this video. But yeah, legendary cover. A band called Boris, this Japanese kind of hard rock metal band, did a cover of it as well. They were inspired to basically copy Nick's Bryter Layter cover. And yeah, it's an amazing album, but it is my least favourite, just about, from Nick, if I had to say so. So my second favourite now, ladies and gentlemen, and this is taking longer than I thought it would, so I do apologise. 35 minutes is the max amount of time I'm willing to spend on this video because it's just way too long. It's 5 Leaves Left, his debut album in 1969. The album begins with Time Has Told Me, a very accomplished and brilliant song to start off the discography. Chill and slow pace, nice gentle piano in the background, comes in and out of the track, lovely lyrics, someday our ocean will find its shore. This is slow and beautiful, but not exactly melancholic or sad. Apparently Richard Thompson plays slide guitar here and it works so well in this track, quite repetitive in a good way. Or did he not? Was he not on Riverman? I don't know. Oh no, it was the first song. Slide guitar, yeah. It's repetitive in a good way. I've put just the track kind of slightly changes during its runtime. And then the second song on the album, Riverman, I've put a quite simply incredible, life-changing and amazing track. It has slightly drugged and woozy feel, drug-like, maybe even in the lyrics here. Wiki tells me of Extra Strings by Mr. Harry Robinson. They're utterly incredible. The mix of the astonishing music and lyrics here give this track a feel that no other track I've ever heard does. And the instrumentation around about just before 2 minutes is astonishing, and I struggle to find anything else to say more about this song. It's not going to be the song that I put in the drop down box as my favourite, even though I think it probably is the best. But I'm going to say it's my second favourite on the album. It's astonishing. I never get bored of it. It's just so beautiful. It's so chill. It's so astonishing. Nothing quite like it that I've ever heard. But there's another song that gives me goosebumps and I've got a real soft spot for. And then there's probably my least favourite song on the album, possibly. It's 3 Hours. Now this, I believe, was inspired by a few trips. I think it was Morocco. And there's kind of different instrumentation going on both this song, 3 Hours, and later in the album. Maybe a cello song as well. It does say here there's some congas on songs number 3 and 6. That is 3 Hours and cello song. Yeah, that figures. A bit of oboe, bass oboe, English horn, vibraphone. But yeah, on those particular tracks, cello song and 3 Hours, you can feel that kind of Eastern influence. Nick using influence from other cultures, of course, a few different instrumentation, and it works very well. 3 Hours is a great song, but it's kind of similar to what I said about Poor Boy. It's over 6 minutes. It might overstay its welcome just a minute to 2 minutes. It's really cool, though. It's a very, very accomplished song. A unique and interesting feel in the rest of his discography I've put. There's a bit of guitar in the middle here that reminds me of the song Free Ride from Pink Moon I've put. Some very intricate and noodly guitar playing here. For a chill track, there is actually a lot happening. Yeah, a lot more going on than you think. Oh my days. It's not a conventional rock song where the guitar carries the song. That's what I would say. And then Way to Blue. Some beautiful strings open this song up and continue whilst Drake sings. This is a beautiful song, but something feels a little more dark and ominous to me, I've put here. I'm not sure others will share that same sentiment. Slightly more somber feel in terms of the lyrics. Utterly devastating feel at 2 minutes in, instrumental section. Ooh, I can't even remember. I love that song, but I can't remember what I was talking about now. Day is done. The guitar comes back. Intricate noodling, astonishing intro. Lyrics here are dark, and although the rest of the track musically isn't so unsettling, there is something quite dark about the lyrics and feel of the song. Got no one to call your own when the race is won. Cello song, funnily enough, a cello opens the song up. Would you believe it? Musically, this could sound a little dark and foreboding at the start, but Nick's vocals here sound warmer and softer than usual. Yeah, beautiful lyrically and musically. There's a shaker being used here as well. A little inspired and similar to the track 3 Hours. I do prefer this song, though. I don't really feel much darkness here. Very relaxing. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. The Thoughts of Mary Jane, utterly gorgeous fairy tale of some kind. And there's the lyric, make her the princess of the sky. And the way he sings, who can know, and he kind of puts all the lyrics together. Who can know the thoughts of Mary Jane? He kind of has no gap in between and no space in between him singing that. I love the way he delivers that line. And I think this is one of the nicest tracks on the album. It's not very popular, I saw on Spotify, though, and I feel like it should be one of his most popular. And speaking of which, one of my ultimate favourite Drake songs, it'll definitely be my top 10. I think it's my favourite song on the album. I just feel it's so unique, lyrically. I adore everything about this song. Man in a Shed. The double bass at the start is awesome. Lyrically and musically, it has a very English feel, very sentimental as well. I've put here, I'm sorry, you'll just have to find a friend. You'll find sheds aren't as bad as you thought. And this song of... Nick doesn't say that it's himself, but this man who loves this woman in a very big, grand house. It just gives it such a unique feel. And in my head, I'm just imagining the story. Great imagery, absolutely adorable. I love it. I've said that. This track just has a strangely fun vibe. Yeah, it does have a fun vibe. It's something that's quite unique in his discography because we know, obviously, a lot of it is quite melancholic. And even that is, in a way, there's melancholy in every single Drake track somewhere down the line. But yeah, Man in the Shed, it's the one I'm putting in the drop down box. I just absolutely adore that song. Fruit Tree starts out with some intricate guitar playing, and a lot of people think this is quite foreboding of what happened to Nick, because it says, forgotten while you're here, remembered for a while. I think these lyrics are the ones that people think of in the modern day regarding him. Some introspective lyrics about aging and regret. Quite prophetic as well, what he's singing about here, whether he knew it at the time or not. Musically, this is perfectly fine, but I feel inclined to talk more about the lyrics of Fruit Tree. Yeah, it's a beautiful song, but I think lyrically it's very intriguing more so. And then Saturday, so a relaxed and beautiful song. No darkness to this one. Vibraphone is used here very classily and spurringly. It doesn't get in the way of the track. It very much helps the song. I think this works well as a final track on the album and ends it on a different note than any other track. It's all mellow without the darkness or even sadness. Lyrics are rather upbeat here too. And I would love to think the song Hey Saturday, sung by Buds of Canada, one of my favourite artists of all time, is a reference to that song, but it might not be. But yeah, Saturday song is just so beautiful. Favourite track on the album, Man in the Shed. My verdict, I've put here an utterly phenomenal debut album. I think it was 2021 when this was made. That is incredible. Mad props to all the other musicians here. I think this album is impeccably balanced in terms of other instrumentation and other people helping out with the music here. Each track bringing something new to the album. A nice balance of dark and light, happy, melancholy, great guitar playing, Nick's vocals working well for the actual music itself. A near perfect album, and my second favourite of the 3 of his albums, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of talking though. When I do these worst to best videos, I don't usually do this, but I felt it was better for Drake. 1, because there's only 3 albums, and 2, because each track, this man, 3 albums, and every single song, that's melancholy, that's sad, depressing, as most people would call it who don't listen to this kind of music. You'll probably know what it's like if you stumbled upon this video and you love Nick's music, or you love music that's quite dark, foreboding, introspective, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I like different kinds of music, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with this kind of music. It's phenomenal. And yeah, we should not apologise for different kinds of music that we listen to, only if it's crappy pop music in the modern charts. But ladies and gentlemen, this is going to go to 35 minutes, and I do apologise, because I wanted to keep it under 30 minutes. A little like this colossal masterpiece right here. It is indeed Pink Moon, and I am indeed holding it the wrong way. There it is. And I've got to say, the album cover, I can't remember, it was a different bloke who came up with the album cover for this, but I know some people will say this is heresy, but I'm not overly keen on the album cover. Now, if you just bear with me, guys, I'm just looking through my Instagram here. I started my vinyl collection in 2017. My first vinyl was Fleet Foxes, because that's the one that I got with my vinyl player at the time. My second one was my favourite kind of rock metal band called Catatonia. People who've watched my videos before will know I've been talking about Catatonia before. They are very moody as well. And then the third vinyl, the second one that I chose, this. So, enough said. If you want to know the importance of Nick's music to me, if you want to know how much I adore this album, it was the second vinyl that I purchased with my own money and my own choice to get. I think it's a beautiful album for vinyl. It fits the tone. Look at that, though. That is creepy. You got the lyrics there as well. And I would have shown this off. I do vinyl pickups videos, guys. If you love Nick's music, then have a look way back in early 2018 and you'll see there's the Island vinyl as well. Pink Moon. So if you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, by the time this album was made, I've not really given much backstory in regards to the other albums, but in Nick's life, his albums, I think he got about 2,000 sales. His songs are getting millions of plays on YouTube and Spotify now, and down the years his popularity has grown and grown. And one of, if not my favourite thing about this book, other than this story of his upbringing and the musicianship and getting a deal and all that kind of stuff, and before it really turned sour, was 1974 was when he died. I think his mum passed away about 1993. His dad about 1988, 89. I think his sister's still alive. Yeah, of course she's still alive. She must be in her 80s now, I'm guessing. But was the people that came to the house. Now, in the modern day, that would raise security concerns, wouldn't it, for sure? But back then, things were very different. And apparently there were people, I'm not sure about from around the world. I think they might have been from other countries, though, coming to the house and just wanting to look around. It sounds a bit freaky, doesn't it, in the modern day? But it sounded very wholesome, and I don't think there were millions of people, probably a good few dozen in like 15, 20 years, but that is in the 70s and the 80s as his music grew. And then there was a popular popular TV commercial in America, I think, in the late 90s. And that's when everything really kicked off. It is utterly phenomenal, I've got to say, before we talk about Pink Moon, how this music went underappreciated for so long. I don't fully understand it. Now, something I haven't mentioned is that he didn't like playing live. He hated it because the tuning is on his guitar. It took a long time to change everything with the guitar to play another song. And I should play guitar because he's seeing these fingers. Look at them. I think Nick's really like that as well. Bloody effort me play guitar like that. This ain't no Ed Sheeran stuff, ladies and gentlemen. This ain't no Ed Sheeran stuff. Although that were like George Formby, what I were doing there. But anyway, I'm going off on one now. I've lost my train of thought. His lack of playing live really hindered him, but yet and still it should have been much more popular than it was. It's mind-blowing, and back in the day, obviously unlike the modern day where modern chart popular music is utterly trash, back then it wasn't. But how did it not get out there? You know, I like some music from artists like Bert Jansk, for example, Jackson C. Frank, who's got a similar story to Nick Drake, John Martin, who he had an astonishingly strange relationship with. His song Solidaire is all about Nick. If you've never listened to that song, you gotta listen to it. I'm laughing, but it's astonishing. The lyrics are astonishing, and he wrote it for Nick as well. And John Martin was a very working class bloke. He was Scottish, but he also spoke in a London accent as well, I believe. Bizarre man, not the nicest of men apparently in his personal life, but just that coming together of two very different men. It's a beautiful story, and John Martin, he made some good stuff as well, but Nick, better than them all. It really is, really was. But yeah, Pink Moon, I'm sure there are people out there who don't have it as the favourite. They might think it's a bit too downtrodden, a bit too melancholic, a bit too dark. Apparently when people, the producer for this one wasn't, I don't think he was in the country at the time, Joe Boyd, it was John Wood instead. Drake just knew in his head what he wanted to do in the studio. He came in, he did it all in one sitting. It's phenomenal. It's an amazing story. These songs stand the test of time. They're unbelievable. I don't mind how downtrodden it is. I listened to it in full yesterday, and it's one of only, 10, 15 albums or so where when I listen to that first song, I'm listening to the whole album. It's 20 minutes, it's not long at all, and it's close to perfection. I don't really know what I can say about it not being, really. There's no one on this other than Nick, and it's so simple, but it's so... Oh, I think my mouse is stopping working. No! It's so simple, but it's so technical as well. Some of the guitar noodling here... I'm not a musician, by the way, guys. I've never played music in my life. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But some of the things that he's doing here, guitar-wise, are absolutely unbelievable. And, some of those kind of old American black blues players in the 1920s and 1930s, some of the things they were doing, it's just like ridiculous. Drake's doing that as well, but he's also playing beautiful music and some astonishing songwriting. Not saying they weren't, but the production is obviously a lot better by the 70s, and he's just doing something that no one else quite is here, and no one in the modern day is. Now I want to give a shout out to, this is completely random, I feel quite weird doing this, but there's one musician out there who's not really getting much recognition whatsoever. I remember seeing this guy on Sputnik Music getting referenced. There's an album by a guy called, it's a dumb name, no offence to him, but Pickering Pick is the name of the artist, and the album is called Tropic. If you like Drake's music and you like Pink Moon, give that album a listen. I have never heard anything as close as that album, and it's really good. The guy can play guitar. He's got a similar kind of voice as well. He's English, but he lives in America, I think. And yeah, just unbelievable how that album hasn't gotten more views. There's some songs on YouTube that have got like less than 100 views. There's so many artists out there on Spotify, for example. You look at similar artists, but like I say, it's that Ed Sheeran kind of strumming. It's not finger picking, and it's not as intricate. You mix that with the beauty as well of the melodies, the vocals and all that. It's just so good. He is very talented. He hasn't made an album in a while. I don't know what he's doing, but yeah, Pickering Pick, check him out. But Pink Moon, Place to Be, Road, Which Will, Horn, Things Behind the Sun, No, Parasite, Free Ride, Harvest Breed, and From the Morning. From the Morning, in my opinion, is the best of its kind ever made. Best song ever in terms of a melancholic singer-songwriter acoustic guitar track. I think it's utter perfection. It's so beautiful. The lyrics are incredible as well. Now we rise and we are everywhere. Now we rise from the ground. The way his voice is shaking as he's singing that, it's just quite simply astonishing. I've got loads of notes here, and to be honest with you, I've been talking too long. It's running in now at over 35 minutes. There's a few tracks here, like Free Ride, for example, where it's not quite on that same dark and foreboding level as the rest of the album. But songs like Parasite and Things Behind the Sun certainly are. Which Will, that's quite nice. I love how Nick delivers the line, which will you love the best, and he elongates it again, love the best, like that. Place to Be, just astonishing. I honestly don't know how people could say that this isn't his best, but they're all great. I'm sure there's people out there that have it as their least favourite. What a legend. I had to make this video. It's gone on longer than I wanted it to. But yeah, Pink Moon, I'm not going to go as in depth about the album because it's just complete perfection to me, and there's absolutely no doubt that this will be listened to forever for me and people around the world. And it's intriguing, you know, people say that Nick felt like a failure before he left this mortal coil, but I don't know what he really think about the success that he's gained. I kind of get the feeling that you'd be like, oh, that's nice, but not really be jumping up and down about it. And I think after time, he would probably feel a bit uncomfortable about it as well, to be perfectly honest with you. Ultimately, I get the feeling that the man was chasing something, perhaps that he didn't even know himself. And I don't think, unfortunately, there would have ever been any contentment there. And I don't exactly know, because of course I'm not an expert of if there was something else, you know, mentally the matter with him. You know, the drug abuse didn't help as well, of course. But ladies and gentlemen, Nick Drake, album is ranked worst to best. Had to do it. 50 years since he left us. Favourite track from each album below. My favourite 10 Nick Drake songs as well. It's going to be ridiculous because they're all amazing. And we will do this again soon. In about 4 months' time, I will have another worst to best. I don't know who of. I'm thinking Deftones. We're going to get on the rock and metal vibe again. That's going to be a very contentious one. 9 albums there. That'll probably take me hours, to be honest with you. But thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. See you soon. Bye-bye.